I'm sure a number of you have seen this, and it's not very complicated, it's just very cool.
My fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection. A pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics. And a mindset to master the most epic of space.
You get the idea. The point is that this has got Volvo Trucks 76 million views on YouTube. Okay, you won't always have a budget that gets you Jean-Claude Van Damme, and you won't always have a creative idea that it works so effectively. But just a short piece of video that is very cool can create that level of engagement. Another, relatively well-known example is Blendtec, and they're one of the first innovators in content marketing. They've been building pieces on their YouTube channel, I think, since back to 2007, and it started with take a Thanksgiving dinner and blend it, or take a can of Coca-Cola in its can and blend it. And now, as I'm sure you all know, they've got really freeform, and they've started blending iPads and all sorts of stuff. This is their recent piece of video for the iPhone 6. It's a bit drawn out.
Are you having trouble deciding which new phone you get? You will really have two phones here. Some people are telling you that they're having a hard time making up their mind. So, I am going to help them out. Are we ready? Lumia 929? Who wants that? And over here, seems like this larger size doesn't want to come out. The iPhone 6 Plus. I think I'll press the blue button. And over here, I think I'll press the blue copy of the blue button.
And so it continues. So what they've done is they've taken a product which is, again, effectively quite dull, like a Hoover, like a vacuum cleaner, a blender, but they've done something innovative with it, and they've used content to build an audience. Blendtec now has, across just this one video, 2.8 million views. Their Blendtec channel on YouTube has 750,000 followers, and they've created more than 150 pieces of video. I don't think this computer likes my presentation. Okay, so next bit of advice. Oh no, hang on. Oh yes, okay. Okay, this one I love because this is done by a friend of mine, Andy, who was working with King's College, and they had created podcasts, and what they wanted to do was create awareness around podcasts so people downloaded them. So for April Fool's Day, they created this little video. It was put together very much on a shoestring. They didn't have a huge budget. They used a camcorder that they borrowed, and the total time was just a day to film. However, the campaign was a dramatic success. It's been viewed more than 250,000 times in the first 24 hours and 500,000 times in the first week. It generated coverage on The Guardian, The Telegraph, NBC, Huffington Post, Daily Mail, and has been shared more than 67,000 times on Facebook and on Twitter. the immediate result was tenfold increase in the download of the podcast. And this is a podcast with video, so this is a sign of the things that you can do if you just have a cool idea. Oh, bollocks. Sorry, I'll try that again. Can you guys hear anything? Okay, that's a shame, so I'm going to have to can that. But basically, this dude is saying that what with new legislation, it was harder to get boys to perform in the choir, and that they'd had a rigorous analysis of the men who had provided negative feedback to being castrated. So they had found a solution in terms of helium, and they got the entire choir to sing the Allegri Miserere using helium. Check it out on YouTube, it's brilliant. So the next piece of advice I have to share is be real time, be live with your storytelling. And there's a number of very simple metrics that underpin this. The first is it generates more page views. So a piece of research by City University and The Guardian showed that 233% more page views come from real-time content than from static content. Furthermore, once there are people on a page, you will keep them there for a lot longer. So advertising, it's a great way of overlaying a number of messages. Typical time on page for a live event is around 15 minutes, as opposed to, let's be generous and say 3 minutes for static content. Now, real-time content is pretty well known in the media now. Live blogs for a particular political event or a budget announcement or a sporting event. It's not made the transition through to branded content quite as effectively. And I think that's just a matter of time. And I would encourage you all to take a look at real-time storytelling. Of course, there's video, and there's also live blogging. And there's a number of different use cases for live blogging that you can use across telling a story. If you're at a conference like this, you can report with images and video. You can get that visual content in line. You can pull from social, so you're curating, you're collaborating with your audiences. And you're also providing a dynamic stream, which is a lot more interesting because it's immediate, it's about now. When you're looking at real time, there's one major exponent of it, and clearly we're not all going to have budgets like Red Bull do. They spent 50 million on this Red Bull Stratos campaign. But if you're looking for the best in content marketing, if you're looking for the best in real time, you can't get any further away than Red Bull. So what does $50 million get you? Well, it got them 8 million concurrent views of the launch on YouTube, and it's got them 400 million views on their channel on YouTube, the Red Bull Stratos view. That's what an enormous budget can get you. However, it's not always a tap-in. People with big budgets don't always get it right. And one major example of that recently was Apple around the iPhone 6 launch. I spent a couple of years working for a real-time content company. And we saw that every iPhone launch created huge spikes in traffic to the point where it would always knock over most people's servers. So when Apple announced that they were going to do it themselves, they were going to live stream, they were going to live blog, a number of people looked at this approach and went, good luck. The amount of people that you're going to get looking at this video will probably knock over the servers, and it did. The video failed because the weight on it was just too much. However, they didn't just stop there, and that's where they had backups. They provided inline images, they provided information, graphics, as the event was unfolding, so that people could continue to engage in a number of ways. You get the picture. So, this is a way of taking a phone launch and providing multi-format content below a live stream and embedding it. But the point is, when you have the opportunity to create that much content, that much interaction, that much engagement, it's very important to make sure your infrastructure is sound. And I would recommend, if it's your first venture at this, always outsource your platforms. Make sure that you've got high capacity platforms underpinning your content so that you're able to carry a huge amount of traffic. A much more niche example is Hy-Vee, and this is an American health food company, and what they've done here is partnered with KCCI, who are a local television station in the mid-states in the US, and they've provided a live chat to give the audience of KCCI information about health, about nutrition. And this is just an open chat between the experts from Hy-Vee and the people who are on the website. So it's people asking questions. Can you explain how to pit a cherry? Well, this is the way I go about it. What are the right things? What are the right types of peanut butter that I should look out? Look for these ones. These are more healthy than the other ones. It's not PR content. It's just being useful and informative. But it builds an advertising network. It builds an audience for Hy-Vee, and it provides money for KCCI, and it provides the audience with useful stuff. My final bit of advice around process for content marketing is to think about amplification. And ultimately, if you're going to create great content, if you're going to create shiny stuff, it doesn't mean anything unless there's people looking at it. So at the beginning of every campaign, you need to have a sound amplification strategy. First and foremost, you need to look at your audience profiles, your audience personas, and you need to think about what media platforms are they spending time on. What social platforms are they spending time on? What subjects are we looking to create, and where are we looking to harness them? If it's B2B, clearly LinkedIn is going to be a lot more effective than Facebook or Pinterest. Whereas if it's B2C, you've got a lot more scope to use the traditional social media platforms. But you can do a lot more above and beyond just placing content on digital properties. You can pull ambassadors, you can pull amplifiers into your network, you can harness them. It's very wise to look at social amplification strategies to find the key influencers across particular topics and to reach out to them and to engage with them and to see if you can bring them into your content programs so that they're creating content on your behalf, they're sharing it, and they're talking about your brand on your behalf. This is something that Urban Beach have done. They've built a brand ambassador network, and they've said, you talk about our products and we will give you free stuff. It's not very difficult. It's just interaction and engagement through providing an incentive. And a very flip side of the coin, if you don't want to use people, if you don't want to use your audiences for that kind of traffic building, then you can buy it, clearly. And native advertising is a major driver at the moment around the way that people are doing it. Companies like Outbrain, like Taboola, have built out publisher networks where they are basically renting space on publisher pages. They're dropping in a box, as you can see on the bottom left-hand side, and they are placing hyperlinks around content, contextual hyperlinks, so that when people have finished reading an article, there is that contextual hyperlink from a sponsored page that can link you through to that story. This example is actually one that's just been mocked up, but it's under a BP oil spill story and it's a Greenpeace article. And what we're seeing is very effective is people putting social sharing buttons and amplification buttons then around that content. One great thing about native advertising is you get a good return on investment. People are paying a lot for AdWords or for native advertising for clicks. And at the moment, because native advertising is still relatively nascent. The pricing is therefore a lot more keen, and you can get a good, a good bang for your buck, if you'll excuse the expression. So you buy the content, you buy the outreach, and you can be assured that you'll get a certain amount of page views for your content campaign. And so that's that. Content House, we're working across all of these different things. So if you've got any particular questions for me or for us, then just get in touch on Twitter, or that's my email address. Or we've got some time for some questions if there are any. Blank faces. Okay, well, if you're feeling shy, just come look me out. All right, thank you guys.